Hello everyone, this is Ishamoon from Maniac Cinephile, and it's been a huge hiatus from. Uh, wait a second. What's happening to my eyes right there? And what are these strands? Well, that's because we're gonna talk about WandaVision today. WandaVision has to be one of the most anticipated series of the year 2021. It kind of caused a hornstorm amongst the fans throughout the world because of the fact that it comes under the umbrella of MCU, and the whole series was just so engaging. But before jumping to that, I have to say this: when I watched the trailer, I thought it's simply going to be a sitcom because that's how they showed it. I thought it's simply going to be a sitcom which comprises of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the main characters being Wanda and Vision. And I never really thought it would have room for so much of good content and a good screenplay and a good storyline. And it was just not a feast for the eyes. I have to say this because usually Marvel Cinematic Universe is considered as this theme park, as Martin Scorsese has proclaimed it to be. But I feel like there's so much more that they provide. One of the main reasons why Marvel has had this coveted position in this whole universe of comic books or fantasy movies or superhero movies, and one of the main reasons why they've dominated over the adversary Detective Comics or DCU is because of the fact that they provide good content and good storyline apart from just being a feast for the eyes or a cinematographical delight. It is not just a superhero movie, but they try and connect to the fans on an emotional level, and they build up a story. And every single movie or series or whatever that they release out there is somehow related to one another and somehow tries to find a room for a character. There is so much that they provide. It's not just and they try not to inundate or overwhelm the viewers by providing so much, but they try and give equal roles and equal screen times to all the characters and actors and somehow divide it in a way that is unbiased, and no matter how small the character is, that he or she has an equal responsibility to portray that particular character in a responsible way, because every single character holds huge significance in this universe. And I have come to notice have come to notice that after watching WandaVision in particular. Now that I have praised Marvel Cinematic Universe, something that I hate to do because myself being a non MCU fan and being a DC fan, let's move on. Let's move on. Not that I hated doing it because it clearly deserved it, but let's move on to the characters of the series. The very first character would be the main protagonist, that is Wanda or Scarlet Witch. The main reasons why I mentioned Scarlet Witch right here is because this is the very first time it was in this series, the very first time Wanda was denoted or called out as Scarlet Witch, and it was by the antagonist Agatha Harkness. It was one such moment that we obviously had to witness. It was a theatrical moment and we had to whistle for it and clap for it. But the fact that it had to be on a small screen, we couldn't really do that. But it was a jaw-dropping awe moment for every single fan. I'm pretty sure it must have brought tears to die-hard and hardcore Marvel fans. But now that I've jumped on to the character section, I have to say this: Elizabeth Olsen is probably one of the. Elizabeth Olsen is the only actor who could probably play this character or role in the best possible manner, because I cannot see another person in her shoes. Something that I have to commend Marvel Cinematic Universe for is that they bridge this gap between the audience and the character, this emotional gap, that they get connected, and one can never see another actor playing that particular role. Although there have been exceptions, such as, you know, the actor who played Hulk, who was also the main actor of Fight Club. But let's leave it to another day. Edward Norton, a great actor. But Elizabeth Olsen, like I said, she's a gorgeous actress, for starters, and also an amazing one. And she had this responsibility to kind of give a homage and tribute to these sitcoms of the 60s, 50s, and 70s, like Dick Van Dyke or I Love Lucy, or the recent ones, the more recent ones such as Modern Family, and yet kind of portray her grief, which was simply just being disguised as a form of a sitcom. As they'll in the if you when you watch the series, spoiler alert, but when you watch the series, you'll find out that she was a huge fan of sitcoms and series as a kid, and comic series as a kid, and she was always intrigued by them. And that is one of the main reasons when she is in huge amount of grief, she transforms her energy and it unknowingly becomes or engulfs this town of Westview and turns it into a town of sitcom with real life people acting as characters in it. And it's more of a lucid dream for me, because it's not a lucid dream exactly, but it's what she wanted in her head, and she could transfer that energy into real life. Just like how people like to manifest their thoughts, and she's able to do that unknowingly. And in that process, she obviously brings about a lot of pain in people's life, and in the end, she has to face ramifications for her actions, even though it happened without her knowledge. But she ends up doing it, and she ends up realizing her mistake, and she ends up realizing that she hasn't known her full potential, and she doesn't know her weaknesses and strengths, and does not have a control over the whole thing. Now that I've said everything that I had to say about Wanda, or Elizabeth Olsen, the actress, let's jump to Vision, which is being played by Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany has to be one of the most brilliant actors of a generation, and I remember seeing him in Beautiful Mind, if I'm not mistaken, who played the supporting role, alongside Russell Crowe. And Paul Bettany, for some reason, I felt like he was holding back his full potential as an actor whenever he played Vision, because of the fact that Vision never really had to, portray much on the screen except for the action sequences. A lot of work was being done behind the screen, basically, to be put blatantly, and not by the actor himself. But this was the very first series that I thought Paul Bettany had to do something, right? And he did it wonderfully. And despite being the saturnine and gloomy character, Paul Bettany brought color and light to this character in this particular series. And this was the very first time we saw the other side of Vision. And it's probably because of the fact that it was all in Elizabeth Olsen's head throughout the series, which she obviously transferred into real life. And they end up having a kid, which is something right next to impossible. Like I said, Vision always has this sort of doubt that all of this is not true, but just a lucid dream, like I said. And Vision is someone who's able to perceive that and realize that, and has this sort of guilt and tries to help people out and reach out to them. And he did a wonderful job in bringing life to a character that is actually dead post the incidents of Infinity War, after Thanos' deeds, Thanos' doings, or whatever that was. And the third character that I want to mention about mainly is the nosy neighbor, or Agatha Harkness. My God, the producers and the creators of the series deceived the audience in a click, because the very first 4 episodes, they're more of the sitcom and not exactly of the main content. But it has a huge significance, though. If you watch it, you'll understand. But when you watch the series, you realize that a lot of characters that have a huge significance by the fag end of the series do not have enough screen time, and they've done it perfectly because we have to get deceived. It's more like a magic show, right? And Agatha Harkness, I thought she was just the nosy neighbor in the beginning who comes to provide domestic aid and help to Wanda whenever she's going through some sort of crisis at her home or among people. But she, my gosh, she ended up being the main antagonist by my from my perspective. Don't come at me after watching the video for this, but for me, she has to be one of the main antagonists in this whole series because of how evil she was and of how sly and smart she was and how deceiving she was. And the fact that she kidnaps and jeopardizes the whole situation, kidnaps her kids, Scarlet Witch's kids, and jeopardizes the whole situation for her and Vision, shows how well she knows Wanda's weaknesses and strengths. And the way that she tries to bring those painful memories back to her, back to Wanda's mind, and trying to reach to the root, the cause of this whole creation by Wanda, and somehow try to get her powers. And that is what makes her so evil and so perfect for this role. The fourth and final character that I want to mention mainly about is Captain Rambo. Captain Rambo is someone who we must have seen as a kid in Captain Marvel. And she loses a mother in the process after Infinity War, after all these years. And she doesn't even realize that it has happened, and there is a lot of grief in her heart too. But despite that, she has relentless ambition to find out what's happening behind the curtains of Westview, behind inside the hex layer. And she has so many parts to it, and there are rumors that she's even more powerful than Captain Marvel and she's going to be the next Captain Marvel. I don't know how true this is, but I'm just guessing this might be because of all the rumors surrounding her, surrounding that particular character. And you can see that she walks through the hex layer, without disintegrating or mutating into a new person. And that shows that she has a lot of power and determination, and she's very strong. And not just power in general, but she has supernatural powers, which makes her a really important character. These are the characters that I had to mention about, but I would also say that there are a few characters that come back, like Darcy Lewis from Thor, who also has a huge significance in the series and provides a sense of humor, a tinge of humor to this whole, drama. And like I said, Marvel somehow has masqueraded all of the flaws and loopholes by providing such a beautiful content in front of us. Because even though there might have been certain loopholes in the series, I couldn't find it because of how beautifully they portrayed it and how beautifully they masqueraded and provided this facade of sitcom and make it more enticing to people, a viewer-friendly show, right? And if I had to rate this series on a scale of 10, I would give this a solid 8.5 to 8.7 because it's definitely worth a watch. And there's one more thing that I want to mention. It is the fact that there's a character named Ralph Boner in this show who is nothing but Evan Peters. Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver. This is a huge spoiler alert, guys. Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver in X-Men, comes into this universe all of a sudden because of Agatha Harkness's evil doings and tries to deceive Wanda that this Quicksilver is her real brother, a character which was played by Aaron Taylor Johnson in Age of Ultron, who died because of the blows that he took from Ultron's body. And that is a very funny moment in the show because of how, and even Peters being having such a significant role in X-Men, agreed to play such a minor and kind of absurd role, I would say. And that was kind of amazing of him to do and sportive of him to do. And like I said, I would love to applaud, or commend their in Marvel's effort in providing such a flawless series and a mouth-watering juicy series to us. And this has definitely given a head start for upcoming programs such as the Winter Soldier or whatever it is that's gonna come in the future, because now things are never going to be the same. Like I said, Wanda had to face certain ramifications after her whole, thing. After her whole, after the fact that she engulfed this whole town of Westview, she had to face certain ramifications, and there were certain actions being taken against her, and she had to leave and go to the secluded place. There were so many Easter eggs, like I said, in the series, and things are never going to be the same in Marvel Cinematic Universe after the series. And I believe that as Wanda has realized that she has more powers, and there are certain things that could be of harm to people around her, and now that we've realized that Captain Rambo has more powers, embedded inside of her. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I don't have anything much else to say for the series, but I'll just say that go and watch it. It's an absolute treat. Like I said, I'll rate this around 8.7 or something. This has to be one of the best shows I've watched in a long time. And do give us your opinions and scrutinize us as much as you can in the comment section. Butcher us as much as you can. And give us some suggestions. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. And share it as much as you can, because it genuinely helps, guys. Right? I'm serious. And please support us through. Thank you. And if you would have noticed that we have tried some sort of animation for the very first time. So it was done by Mitesh, who is my teammate, and kudos to him for his beautiful work. And thank you, and have an amazing day. Until next time.